Okay, there we go. So, and I think the reason why it's important to talk about collaboration these days is that we're at a very exciting point in time. I think the energy industry is really changing drastically, and there's actually a couple of other industry converging, creating that 20 trillion new industry. And to make things complex, it's not only the traditional energy players, but also mobility players, traditional oil and gas players, real estate players, but also like tech companies like Amazon are coming to that energy sector and really changing the game fundamentally. And what that leads to is a massive numbers of new players every single year. So last year, 2018, there was like 7,376 new startups that got funding. So that's only the ones that got funding. And that's kind of it's a mind-boggling number. It's almost impossible to handle, right? And that's already one of the reasons why you need to find a collaborative way to deal with that ecosystem, right? Because not every single one of them, but quite a few of them can actually change entire business, drive incumbent out of their traditional business today. And it's hard to tell which one is the one that's either most relevant for you to kind of partner with or the biggest threat for you to be aware of. To make matters even worse, it's not like a unified market. Like wherever you go on the globe, there's different countries that are ahead in the game in one aspect or another, right? If you, for instance, go to Germany, there's 1,000 retailers. It's a super competitive market on the customer side. If you go to Denmark, there is more than 50% of the installed capacity is already renewable, right? In North America, people using artificial intelligence much more than they do in Europe to predict failures before they even happen. If you go to Japan, for instance, it's really one of the most advanced countries, maybe together with France, in hydrogen. So it's a very complex environment, thousands of new entrants every year, very different levels of development in different countries across the globe. The way we try to tackle this is that we build a coalition of like-minded and forward-thinking utilities, really traditional energy players, but that have all the ambition to embrace change, right? And to do it in a collaborative fashion. And I think the magic starts to happen if those players learn from each other. And we make sure this coalition is a group of people that get along well. Not everybody in our sector does get along well. So we have built this group very carefully, and it's actually very encouraging to see that all those large players, they exchange ideas. We kind of moderate the process, right? We bring startups to them and we make sure they can use the latest and greatest technology from those startups. And I mean, you know how our sector is. So before you use something new, you probably do a pilot, and that might take 12, 18 months. And we can change that, and probably nobody can. But the power of that coalition is they trust each other. So if one of their members has done a pilot project with a startup, the others still might do their pilot project, but it might be only 6 months or 3. So there's an incredible speed that you gain from learning from each other. The reason why we like that coalition from our kind of perspective as investors, that makes us gives us good arguments to talk to the innovators, to the startups, right? Because that coalition combined has a buying power, an annual capex budget of 60 billion. And that makes us a very attractive player for the smaller startups because we help them actually quite manually to tap into that pool of $60 billion every year. And our coalition also touches hundreds of millions of households, has a installed base of more than 300 gigawatts of installation of generation capacity, and that combined is probably the critical mass you need to drive change. So I give you a little more insights and flavor how we do it, right? I talked about how we facilitate collaboration between our partners, but we also find, with their help and with our team, the startups in segments that matter. So we pick our partners, we ask what are high priority topics for you, and then we go out and find the best startups wherever they might be across the world. And if they're not only good startups and good partners for our utilities, but also are good investment, then we invest, right? but only then. So we really make sure we don't compromise on the financial performance, even if something might be very attractive conceptually or as a technology. So I think one thing I want to drill in a little deeper is how we try to find signal from all that noise. Right? You've seen there's 7,300 startups every year, and there's tens of utilities in our coalition. And in theory, there's lots of synergies you could reap, but that's kind of hard to do. And so we have a team on the ground that actually tries to find the signal in all the noise, because obviously not every startup, not every innovation is suitable for every of our partners or for every utility. So what we do, we actually go out, interview our partners, understand in detail quite well what everybody needs, and then we do the matchmaking, right? It's really like dating. We really need to find who fits well and who can serve our utilities' needs specifically. And that's I think the power of a collaboration and of a network effect, right? Because only if you have like a two-sided platform where there's lots of innovators and lots of potential customers, only if you have that network effect, it really starts taking off. And to give you numbers, because that's how it looked like so far. On the left side, you see our partners, and some work with our portfolio firms more than others. But overall, what we have been able to generate for the small startups is a good 100 million in revenues between our utility partners and the startups. And on a kind of large utility scale, that sounds maybe small, but imagine a startup that's trying to get their first couple of million of revenues in. That's actually a game changer for them. On average, that's like 4 or 5 million of revenues that we bring on top of what they do already from our partner base. And that actually makes us a very attractive player for those kind of startups. It makes us also the kind of the glue between innovation and the traditional industry. And that's why we think to tackle this challenge in our sector, it needs a collaborative approach, and we're just one tool implementing that power of collaboration. Thank you.